Yeah. Taco Tuesday.
Iran is on the clock to make a deal with the
ceasefire now in place between the United States and Iran. Back here at home, so very vital ahead of midterm elections. We continue to dive into the latest every Tuesday, seemingly some primaries, special elections, including tonight in the Peach State in Georgia, as they're trying to fill the seat of the Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was a special runoff after dozens of candidates were in there. We talked about that during their primary night several weeks ago. But right now, at this point, we have getting some updates on the special election in the District 14, the runoff race to replace MTG. Right now, 45% of the estimated vote count in Clayton Fuller, the Republican, has a
Taco Trump is back.
Sean Harris. So it's an 8-point lead right now for him in this District 14 race, and polls, they did close about an hour plus ago across northwest Georgia as
Fucking
official
Republicans
counting
winning.
of the ballots to determine who will fill the remainder of this former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's term. They will have to potentially rerun
4,000 votes.
November, but the voting concluded Tuesday following a day of steady turnout at polls around that county. The race featuring Republican
fucking CHEWSDAY, isn't it, mate?
Endorsed by the President Donald Trump.
Fucking
and
CHEWSDAY.
Democratic challenger Sean Harris, a retired Army veteran. The seat has been vacant since Green resigned from her position in January. While the district is a long-standing Republican stronghold, Harris finished first in the March primary.
CHEWSDAY, mate.
We did not earn enough votes
CHEWSDAY
to
for
avoid
Taco
today's
Trump.
runoff. So
we told you, mate. They told us. What's up, chat? You guys there? All right. I'll find better breaking news than this. This breaking news sucks. Right. All right. Huh? What? Oh. No, we don't. We don't want that. We don't want that on. Off? Okay. No. We don't want that. Just want this gate. Gate's too hot, though. All right, chat. What is happening? Man. Going straight into it. No time for anything.
They're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out. We're getting the help of some incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them. We're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants.
Going to kill everyone.
So President Trump's deadline for Iran is moving right now, less than 12 hours away. The president threatening to wipe out Iran's entire civilization off the map, in his words, unless it agrees to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and get a nuclear development on its program there. I want to bring in Brett Baer to talk about the latest. Brett, good day to you. Good morning. Good morning. I want to try and piece a few things together here. We're all parsing the language, trying to figure out what move is the next move. All right, here's J.D. Vance about 2 hours ago in Budapest, Hungary first. Watch.
As the president has said, very shortly this war is going to conclude. And I think the nature of the conclusion is ultimately up to the Iranians. I think there really are two pathways, and I'm oversimplifying.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think he'd set off a nuclear weapon if the vice president was in Budapest. I'm just saying.
Simplifying this a little bit, but I think pathway one is where the Iranians decide they're going to be a normal country. They're not going to fund terrorism anymore. They're going to be part of the world system of commerce and exchange.
What do you mean?
That's going to mean much better things.
You put sanctions on them. What are you talking about? Son of a bitch.
For them economically, it's going to mean better things for the peace and safety of the world.
So I guess we can take that any way we want. My conversation earlier this morning with sources close to the negotiations, this is the line that sticks out to me. If we get lucky, we will have something by the end of the day. And we're all hoping we get lucky, right? And in the last hour, it appears that the Iranians have released 2 French citizens who have been held in Iran for almost 4 years. And Macron is now saying that they are en route back to France. So you just look at this in terms of maybe there's diplomacy, maybe there's something happening. How do you see it from your vantage point there in Washington?
Well, more importantly, how does the president see it? I think yesterday, good morning, I think there were more tankers that went through the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, 21. It's not the 135 that usually go through. But I just got off the phone with the president, and and he called, and I said, listen, if you were to put odds on it, what were the odds that this is going to end up being a negotiated deal? He said he wasn't going to put odds on it, but he said 8 p.m. is happening. That's what he said. He said, it is, if we get to that point, there is going to be an attack like they have not seen. Now, he's sticking to that at this point. Now, he said if negotiations move forward today,
Taco Trump,
and there is something concrete, that could change. But at this hour, he didn't want to put odds on it, but he said it is moving forward with the plans that we have. That's a huge deal. And obviously, we all think that it's a thing that he's putting out there to say, don't do this. He says he doesn't want to do it, but he is, at this hour, sticking to it and saying it might be likely if they don't come to the table.
Brett, how do you think he defines concrete?
Good question, Dana. I think, you know, this has been a moving target, but I do think that laying it out there like this, he is saying that this is as concrete as he gets. Saying 8 p.m. Eastern time is pretty specific. So
you know,
it's not,
yeah, Brett, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I was just going back to what he said yesterday in the briefing room. He said it's a significant proposal, talking about Iran's response. It's a significant step. It's not good enough, but it's
okay. So he was hinting around about it earlier, and now we have this.
The Trump administration is announcing that Iran has allegedly agreed to a temporary ceasefire. The ceasefire would take place for 2 weeks. Now, if this is true, and I say it that way because it's hard to trust anything that comes from Donald Trump. He's all over the place, especially when it comes to questions of war and peace, life and death. At least it would be a relief from what he was threatening to do later tonight. This morning, he had posted on Truth Social that he would carry out the absolute destruction of Iran's civilization if they don't agree to open the Strait of Hormuz. Now it appears, if this is true, that there will at least be a ceasefire for 2 weeks.
No, yeah, so look, guys, don't think that it's true. There's a giant if in there. So what Trump is saying is that the Pakistanis who were trying to lead the negotiations came to him and said, what if we do, and this happened before the show, and then Trump responded while we were live, okay, saying, the Pakistanis said, why don't we do a 2-week pause, don't go annihilating anyone, but the Iranians had already cut off contact and said, we're not interested in negotiations anymore, right?
Right.
And so now Trump is saying, yeah, okay, I'll do the 2-week pause, as long as Iran opens up the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran isn't going to open up the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has already cut off talks. So this is Donald Trump talking to himself. Like, if he uses it as an excuse without the strait being open to not do something, great.
That's great.
I'll take it.
That's great.
Right? Yeah. But, and I'm super happy to have it be a bluff. I'm super happy for him not to ever do anything like this. But understand that it's fake because there is no one else at the negotiating table.
So I want to actually read you what Trump posted verbatim, and I'm terrified for the Pakistanis. Please be careful. The Israelis are probably going to try to kill you. But with that in mind, this is what Trump posted. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they repeated that I hold off the destruction force being sent tonight to Iran, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire, he claims. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Okay, make a mental note of that, Cenk, because we got to talk about it. Iran had given him that 10-point list before, and Trump was not receptive to it. But we'll get back to that in just a minute. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. I want to believe this. It's really hard to believe. Now, it could be true that Trump realized he's backed into a corner, he's desperate, and he's now threatening to carry out Holocaust, and it's not a good position to be in. There's a possibility that he's trying to craft some sort of narrative where we can exit the war and still claim victory. I have no idea. But when it comes to Iran's 10-point proposal, remind the good people watching us right now, Cenk, what that 10-point proposal included.
So look, the two sides are so far apart. So when he says when we're very far along in getting to a conclusion, that is not remotely true. So, and by the way, in the New York Times story that we just told you about, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff told Trump, oh, we're not going to be able to get a deal. So why are we so far apart? America says we want you to give us all of your uranium. We want you to stop having ballistic missiles, stop like hand over your foreign policy to us, open up the Strait of Hormuz, don't fund Hamas or Hezbollah. So we basically control your country. Well, Iran won't agree to a single one of those things. They're not even close to agreeing on any of that. Then Iran, on the other hand, says, not only do we demand that you stop bombing us, excuse me, we demand that you get Israel to stop attacking and invading Lebanon, withdraw from all of their aggressive actions in the Middle East. None of that is remotely possible. And we demand that you give us reparations for this war. Do you think we're going to give them reparations?
And no more US bases in Gulf countries.
And no more bases in the Gulf countries. We're going to withdraw all of our bases.
Which, by the way, I love all of those asks.
But we're not going to do them, exactly. Right? So we're not anywhere near a deal. There's not even another side, guys. He's talking to the Pakistanis. Okay, the Iranians could talk to the Japanese, but it doesn't make a difference if we're not talking to one another. And Iran already earlier today said, we are not even talking to you guys. We're not interested in a ceasefire. We're not interested in any of your BS. We're not interested in your threats of annihilation.
Right.
So the only way that this is relevant is if Trump unilaterally backs away. That the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened.
Right.
Iran has not given a single concession. That I'm positive of. There's no question about that. If Trump chickens out, great, wonderful. But he's gonna have to lie and say, oh, they kind of open up the Strait of Hormuz, or they're gonna open up the Strait of Hormuz later, whatever. Okay, I'm good with any lie you got as long as you don't do weirdo things like nukes or ground troops or any of that stuff. But understand that the idea that the Iranians agreed to this is definitively not true. The Iranians are not even at the table.
So we'll see how this plays out. But again, anytime there's even a hint or an inkling of negotiations or even a third party, in this case, Pakistan, attempting to unite the United States and Iran in some way for talks, someone gets executed, someone gets killed, okay, by the Israelis. So I don't know how this is gonna play out. Israel does not want an end to this war. In fact, media in Israel literally had a countdown clock to Trump's deadline for the Iranians, where he threatened them with complete annihilation, absolute end of their civilization if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz. Israeli media was celebrating that with a countdown clock. So understand that the goals of the United States are not the same as Israel's. So entering a conflict or a war with Israel was a really bad idea, because the Israeli government is gonna fight as hard as they can to keep us in this war. So we'll see how it plays out, but I wanted to give you that update.
Yeah, Dropside News just reported that Israel will join the 2-week ceasefire announced by Trump, agreeing to suspend its bombing campaign while negotiations continue. There are no negotiations. So what frustrates me, Anna, is I want there to be negotiations. I want this to be real. I desperately want it to be real. But all of media will report it as if it's real. And if we do it unilaterally, then it will be real, because at least we're doing it. We're not bombing. Israel's not bombing, and I would love it. Okay.
So they're saying it's fake.
Like, if they're pretending that the Iranians agreed to this and are going to open up the Strait of Hormuz, that is definitively not true. So our media drives me crazy. Like, are they clarifying this is fantasy land? Like, the other side has not agreed to the terms at all? And I don't see that clarity yet.
I was looking at some Earth Day and climate change designs on Shop TYT and really wanted to order a few shirts. I was ready to check out, but then I realized I left my wallet in another room. It's so frustrating. I really didn't want to get up and look for it. Then a light bulb moment. Shop TYT is powered by Shopify. And there it was, the familiar.
Ad reads, huh? All right, Jet. Yeah. Happy birthday to my little sister. My middle little sister. She's not here. She's in India. She won't hear me. But there's a VOD that shows me saying happy birthday, so. Haha. Me and the rabbit say hi. Love you, sister. All right. So here's a good shot. What's up, chat? Well, at least I'm on the radar. If I'm getting hit by bots, they must think I'm worth something.
Sack up. Not up or
yeah,
shut up.
Trump forever. Woo! Dude.
Trump Forever 2028A is now following.
What happened to 2028B? Hey, you made my 3,300th follower. It's a special number, bitch. What's happening? All right. That video's no good. And what's happening right now? What is happening? Here we go.
During President Trump's first term are now in federal custody and facing possible deportation. This after Secretary of State Marco Rubio revoked their green cards. The niece of the late General Soleimani is known as a regime apologist who promoted the IRGC even while she and her daughter lived a very luxurious Western lifestyle. Joining us now is Sheila Nazarian. She fled Iran as a child. She's now a plastic surgeon. She joins us now. And
Are you fucking kidding me right now? You see this shit, chat? Israel shill right here. Zionist shill.
Sheila, as we were saying, those pretty stressful times. I want to read to you this headline from an Arab News article saying that the U.S. arrest of slain IRGC commander's kin lays bare scandalous double standards as Iran continues crackdown on women's freedoms. Images of the two women living lavishly in LA spark anger online. Have you heard the same?
Absolutely, Dana. These women are posting in bikinis on yachts. They are wearing...
Okay. Are they supposed to be slumlords? Why is she wearing a Star of David?
V-neck dresses down to their belly buttons. They are wannabe Instagram influencers, all on the blood money that was embezzled, stolen from the Iranian people. And there's thousands of them, Dana, not just two. There's thousands in the US and Canada and in London. And they are such hypocrites. You can show a few strands of hair in Iran, get 74 lashes. I've seen women kicked to the ground, kicked in their heads while on the ground for violating the hijab policy in Iran. Women have been raped. Women have been killed for showing their hair. Much less these women showing, like if you look at their Instagram, it's infuriating. They're on yachts, they're on helicopters, they're shopping on Rodeo Drive, half naked. And it's almost like, you know, rules for thee, but not for me in full display.
Sheila, the Department of Homeland Security said this about her, that her trips to Iran illustrate her asylum claims were fraudulent. If we have reason to believe a green card holder poses a threat to the U.S., the green card will be revoked. It's interesting that she would try to claim asylum.
We see that all the time, unfortunately, Dana, not just with these Iranian, elites' daughters.
We do?
But we see it in the Somali community as well. My family claimed asylum and came here in 1986, and we have never returned because if we do, we will get killed. Meanwhile, you see these Iranians or these Somalis vacation in the country that they're claiming asylum from. That is not a real asylum claim. If they were really afraid for their lives, they would not be vacationing in their home countries.
Sure, dude.
We just had Brett Baer on, and he had spoken to President Trump just a few moments ago, and it looks like this 8 p.m. deadline, it's a very serious one. And I'm wondering if you could give us some perspective about how you and your family are thinking about this moment.
Yeah, re-tacoed, dude. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I want to, address the two French prisoners that were released. Perhaps that wasn't a good faith thing. Perhaps that was because France denied Israeli airspace to transport U.S. weapons, and that was the deal they made with Iran. Dana, there is no good faith negotiations with this regime. This regime has shown for 47 years that they use negotiations as a stall tactic, as a delay tactic, and a tool in their armamentarium to do whatever it is that they want in secret. They're unfortunately, and I hate to say it, I hate war, I hate death, I hate killing. I'm a physician. But with this regime, they understand no other language but force, and they are willing to sacrifice their most vulnerable. They told the children to go stand in front of the targets.
She is literally just repeating the Hasbro talking points, folks. You know?
That Trump claimed he was going to bomb tonight. So they don't care about their people. All they care about is power, money, and a worldwide caliphate. And they understand no other language other than force. And if that's the language they want us to speak, we will speak it.
She's confusing those with
Sheila, let's stay in touch.
ISIS.
Thank you so much. Take care.
She's fucking stupid.
Thank you, Dana.
Both these women are fucking stupid.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube. And
women, you're not sending your best, okay? You're sending your worst. God. Can we get some more Abby Martins out there, please? God damn.
Catch full shows streaming now on.
There's lines and lines of these blonde women just yapping about how great Israel is and how great the patriarchy is, how much they love it, how much they love being succumbed under the patriarchy, and how much they love having their rights taken away, and how much they love having a fucking guy up in their womb. They just love it. But then there's like a couple of fucking leftist women that are out there actually talking. It's crazy, dude. Abby Martin comes to mind. Amy Goodman. Not that many. There's 5.
Fox 1.
Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed plans to rally with
like we lost Anna, we lost a lot of people.
Far left anti-Israel streamer Hassan Piker, who has made many
far left anti-Israel streamer Hassan Piker, nephew of Chunk Yogurt.
controversial comments, such as saying America deserved 9/11. He also had this to say about the October 7th attacks.
It doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Hassan Piker, controversial streamer.
If rapes happen on October 7th, like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
Wow. Republican strategy.
Yeah, wow. What he was saying there was that it doesn't change the fact that if rapes happened or not, if they did happen, fine. If they did happen, that's fine too. But even if they did or didn't happen, it doesn't justify what Israel is doing, is what he was saying. They missed the whole point.
Cassie Smedley joins me now. Cassie, thank you so much for joining us. Hassan Piker is somebody who is very popular with young voters, Gen Z and young millennials, and yet he has said extremely controversial comments. And a Democrat candidate for Senate does feel like it would help him to be alongside him while campaigning. How should we feel about this?
Concerned. Good morning, Carly. This is
starting to sound like MSNBC in 2008. Like I said, the right-wing MAGA is trying to do like the woke now. Like all they're doing is whining. Wah, wah, wah.
This Democrat candidate has said, well, I just want to expand the base. I just want to broaden my reach. And this is his idea of what that means. This isn't about going out and talking to more moms or going out and talking to more college students who don't think that they have the right opportunities available to them upon graduation. This is about aligning yourself with someone who says,
actually, that's what it's about, because that's what Hassan Piker supports. What do you mean, you dumb woman?
Another pointed out that America deserves 9/11. When he was over in China, he said, this is what I think, this is the model I think we should follow. And I don't have any love for America in my heart or patriotism for America in my heart. That's where Democrats think they need to go to win elections, because that's the part of their base that they think is important to court. And that's what's important to point out in the big picture about what's happening in today's Democrat Party. And oh, by the way, if you are a Jewish American who is offended by this, stop voting Democrat, because they are literally putting their hand in your face and saying, it doesn't matter. You don't matter to us.
Yeah, and this candidate, Abdul El Sayed, says that he is appearing with Hassan Piker because he wants to broaden his audience, and that doesn't mean that he agrees with everything he has said. Separately, this candidate in leaked audio did tell his staffers to remain silent on the killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, because a lot of people in Dearborn
a lot of controversial people.
So
no
overall, Cassie, why does this race matter on both the Republican and Democrat side?
I would just posit one thought too, that I imagine there are a lot of parents of children in that church who were at preschool that day who are relieved that the extremists who tried to go after them because of the killing of the Ayatollah was not successful. So let's talk about those constituents as well. And overall, this broader, I would just say, for any politician, what do you stand for? Because the people you associate yourself with are a reflection of that. And what do you think is important to your constituents, no matter their faith? I imagine they all want to have opportunity, and they want to have safe schools and safe communities. And seeing you align yourself with someone who is okay with lives being lost if they are of a certain persuasion or religion is a reflection of yourself. And what does that say about you? And voters should pay close attention.
Not at all.
All right, from Michigan to Virginia we go. And Governor Abigail Spanberger, about 80 days into her time serving in office so far as the governor of the state. Recent poll numbers just came out, 47% approval, 46% disapproval, getting a lot of attention for being left of what she campaigned on in many people's eyes. And there's a lot going on when it comes to illegal immigration and her decisions there in the state. How do you view these poll numbers?
Yeah, well, Carly, as we've talked about, I am a Virginia transplant. I moved from horrible DC to Virginia for better opportunity for my family. I got Glenn Youngkin for about a year. And then we got Abigail Spanberger. And as soon as she got to office, everything that she said, oh, I'm going to be a nice, moderate, pragmatic voice was out the window within hours. And the latest example of that is this gerrymandering effort. And the greatest way that we can show that these poll numbers are real as Virginians here in the Commonwealth is to go vote. Vote against the gerrymandering scheme that Abigail Spanberger and her team have put forth. But more broadly, to those not in Virginia, let this be a warning sign. Democrats have decided that they can't run the Saids nationwide. They can't run the anti-Semitic game plan broadcast on a bullhorn. So they run these people who, these wolves in sheep's clothes, who appear to be moderates, pragmatics, nice moms, CIA background. And it's the same playbook because their agendas are all the same. It's all of this extreme left. How much government can we put in control of your lives playbook? That's the goal here, no matter how they look or how it's wrapped up.
We're going to control you so much, you're going to get free health care and be like, what the fuck?
As voters.
Yeah, and you mentioned him, Glenn Youngkin. He was just on Sean Hannity's podcast and says that he has more to give. So it looks like his political career not quite over just yet. Cassie, thank you so much for joining us.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.
All right, you guys, it's happening. The triple Trump conspiracy theorists are calling for Trump to be removed from office right out of the gates. We have triple Trumper and batshit crazy Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene popped this up. She says 25th Amendment, not a single bomb has dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. Moving along. He's lost. Candace Owens.
Easiest take
Pop
ever.
this up. Candace Owens says the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. He is a genocidal lunatic. Our Congress and military need to intervene. We are beyond this madness. And leaving this up, Piers Morgan. She's responding to Piers Morgan, you guys. This is a brazen pre-admission of genocide against the Iranian people, which would obviously be a war crime. Madness. And you guys, he's lost Alex Jones. Alex Jones, play the clip.
Threat. How do we 25th Amendment is asked?
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment, it's harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and pretend, let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over.
I love that in the throes of removing a madman, they still have a conspiracy theory in it. But nonetheless, you guys, we have 4 triple Trumpers, sane washers, people that, so relieved that comedy's back, that pronouns are going to be out of emails. And it was all fun and games. It was all fun and games until now Trump, they are finally seeing for the first time what we have seen for over a decade. And I know it's frustrating as all get out, but this is incredibly, incredibly serious. Top White House officials are reporting to Axios the following. Put this up. Trump faces a momentous decision on a tight timeline. Carry out his threat to obliterate Iran beginning at 8 p.m. or delay the deadline again to give negotiations a chance. The president is the most bloodthirsty, like a mad dog, a U.S. official tells Axios. So his dictator arc is really complete. And if you think about Pete Hegseth firing generals and the reorganization of the military. And Trump saying recently he wants an additional $1.5 trillion to fund the military. This is what Trump wants. He said it forever. It's great when you're in a war because then you don't have elections. So do we think for a second that Trump is just joking around and this is bluster? No. All that bullshit about him, quote, solving 8 wars and his mad dash to get the Nobel Peace Prize, bullshit. Yep. Here's what he's telling Fox News right now. Play the clip.
I just got off the phone with the president, and he called, and I said, listen, if you were to put odds on it, what were the odds that this is going to end up being a negotiated deal? He said he wasn't going to put odds on it, but he said 8 p.m. is happening. That's what he said. He said, it is, if we get to that point, there is going to be an attack right like they have not seen. Now, he's sticking to that at this point. Now, he said,
okay, so he's staying the course, and I just think it's only a matter of time. This man is unhinged. He is doing what scholars call an autocratic gamble, where he knows his approval ratings are tanking, the economy is tanking, and so he just like an addict, he just keeps up in the ante, up in the ante, up in the ante, and he thinks his Hail Mary attempt at all of this is a big extended war so that he can stay in power. Because as shallow as this sounds, this is how shallow he is. He's laser focused on his ballroom, his arch, and his White House renovations. And I know that's not deep, and it's because this man isn't deep. If he goes to war abroad, then he can focus on his architecture and interior design projects. Yesterday at the White House Easter roll, he was carrying around an image of his arch, talking to everybody about it like a lunatic, and then wakes up this morning and he knows, because economic advisors, people in the Pentagon are like, look, buddy, Strait of Hormuz is closed. Oil is not going to make it to the United States of America. We are going to have massive economic problems because of this. So he's spiraling because he didn't listen to the people initially that advised him in the Pentagon. He shut those voices out, and he listened to Witkoff and Kushner and Bibi Netanyahu. And here we are. How does any of this benefit the United States of America? It does not. It only hurts us. And Iran's foreign ministry has rejected U.S. proposals and said they firmly refuse any negotiations conducted under the shadow of illegal sanctions, military threats, or coercion. And the Iranians, in an act of survival, are doing the following. Pop this video up. They are forming a human chain on the white bridge of Avaz in Iran, and you see them here. Basically, they're forcing a situation around power plants and on bridges to where these military, American military generals and
saying that
people in the military services are going to either have to commit a war crime and bomb civilians and infrastructure, or deny the orders of this president. To me, it's an obvious thing to do. The Democrats were warning about this ad nauseum. Do not listen to this man. But now you've got four of the top biggest conspiracy theorists, and this is before I didn't even mention Tucker Carlson in this, and a lot of Democrats are calling for the 25th Amendment as well. We have Chris Murphy, Yasmin Ansari, Melanie Stansberry, Sarah McBride, and more by the time this airs will continue to roll in. And we have Hakeem Jeffries with the following response. Congress must immediately end this reckless war of choice in Iran before Donald Trump plunges us into World War III. It's time for every single Republican to put patriotic duty over party and stop the madness. Enough. And Keith Edwards says Hakeem Jeffries is not meeting the moment. And I have to agree with him on this. I think that when Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, Piers Morgan, Alex Jones, and Tucker Carlson are outflanking Democratic leadership right now, no more strongly worded letters, no more the Republicans need to do this. act.
Yeah, act. Do something.
Be a leader.
Ass.
Call for the 25th Amendment. Get your
You're
entire caucus on the steps of the Capitol. Get Republicans to stand there with you. Lead.
Go to the White House and drag Trump
little
out.
Moses Mike Grinder Johnson. He's going to do whatever Trump tells him to do. Mr. Pro-Life, Mr. Moses Johnson, he will do whatever Trump tells him to do. If Trump commits war crimes, which he has, he bombed little girls in Iran at school. The big Christian, Mike Johnson, didn't care. So this is a time for Democrats to stand up because it's the right thing to do. But then I'm always reminded of the donors of the Democratic leadership, specifically AIPAC and Palantir.
Taco Trump.
And these two places are heavily aligned with this fascist regime. So my point in being frustrated with these Democrats, these establishment Democrats, is how can they fight for us if they're taking money from the lobbyists that support this insanity? If you're getting outflanked by triple Trumper MAGA conspiracy theorists, we have a massive problem. I haven't heard. Do we have a statement from Chuck Schumer, you guys? This news is breaking all the time. It's Chuckles. I haven't heard anything from Chuckles, who, by the way, like a month ago, told a room full of AIPAC donors that his number one job as senator is to make sure Israel has all the funding that it needs.
Oh.
And
wow.
This is
Keeping yourself busy,
this is genocidal, homicidal insanity. Chuckles. Oh, here we go. Chuckles says, Senator Schumer, this is an extremely sick person. Each Republican who refuses to join us in voting against this wanton war of choice owns every consequence of whatever the hell this is.
Strongly worded letter.
So I personally do not think that these strongly worded tweets are effective. Yes. I think that the calls for the 25th Amendment, you should be on the steps of the Capitol, literally screaming it, getting a movement behind you. And I want to remind you guys that the approval rating of these two individuals is right there with Trump's, which is underwater. This is not a time to service donors. The donors, the people that and the lobbyists that fund the Trump regime also fund our leadership. It is a time to cut off the funds and stand up for this country, stand up for humanity, stand up for what is right. Please subscribe to our channel. We'll keep you posted. It's a crazy fucking day.
It's Taco Tuesday, mate. That's right. It's fucking Taco Tuesday, mate. That's right. We get the best fucking tacos here. They're Trump tacos, mate. Trump. He likes the taco salad. Some would say I like the taco salad. We make the best taco salads at Trump Hotel. None are better. Let's just watch this. I'm bored.
I didn't think it was presidential. Someone should step up to something like this. The optics are very important, and you really can't say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization.
A lot of this is propaganda. A lot of this are things that we've seen before. The U.S. was already in a hole, and this makes it infinitely worse.
Don't always believe what he says.
When he's threatening genocide?
I think he's threatening genocide. I think he's threatening to remove the Iranian regime.
What I hear on the panel is a lot of people being triggered by Trump, and I think that's what happens when someone with a backbone comes in and says, no, you know what, we're going to stand up to evil.
Here we are on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust because this baboon is in office and he's like, oh, Bibi, how can I make you happy? Can you please give me more money? Am I going to be a hero, Bibi?
You know something? You're all taking the bait.
The US president had two enormous success stories to celebrate and give thanks for this weekend, besides Easter itself. First, there was Artemis 2, a US-led mission to send human beings further from the Earth than any living being has ever traveled. It's a precursor to returning to the moon and even reaching Mars. By any measure, it's a breathtaking triumph and a tribute to American ingenuity. Second, the daring and audacious mission to save a stricken US Air Force colonel who was forced to eject from his fighter jet in central Iran. More than 150 aircraft spent 50 hours in a race against Iranian forces deep inside enemy territory. The US military is probably the only military that could have pulled that off, and make no mistake, it was humiliating for Tehran. Instead, most of the world's attention and energy, however, has been absorbed by Donald Trump's expletive-laden Easter morning statement and the carnage it foreshadowed. And as I'll come to shortly, today he's gone even further and made things even worse. In just 48 words on Easter morning, the president managed to threaten Iran with war crimes while sounding, frankly, utterly unhinged, contradicting his own strategic aims and offending both Christians and Muslims.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? You'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. So obviously you're mocking the religion of Iran. Okay. If you seek a religious war, that's a good idea. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions.
The president doubled down yesterday, reiterating that if no deal is reached with Iran by tonight, there will be an all-out assault on civilian infrastructure in which, quote, very little is off limits. Well, some of this was delivered while standing alongside the Easter Bunny, but this is no joke. This morning, Trump issued a post which does nothing less than threaten the Iranian people with genocide. A whole civilization will die tonight, he said, never to be brought back. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Those words should be chilling to not only the Iranian people, but to everybody. US presidents don't threaten genocide because the US is not capable of genocide. At least that's the world we all grew up in. If you break with that principle, you break it with it any moral authority the US has, and the world becomes a very different place. I understand the argument that Trump is unique in politics and that many in his core base enjoy the fact that he says and does what he feels like. But war isn't about appealing to a base. It's about building consensus for the most expensive and deadly gamble any leader can make, especially as the US now prepares to escalate hostilities to a level which will shock the world. Not so very long ago, we documented with precision the incoherent ramblings of President Biden. And not long before that, there were enormous scandals about the dignity of the office because President Obama saluted with a latte, wore a tan suit, and used a selfie stick. Are people now just being intellectually inconsistent or downright dishonest? Or has America's sense of right and wrong really changed so much in such a short space of time? If the next wave of US attacks is anything like the president is warning, we'll soon have a definitive answer. Well, to debate all this, the host of System Update, Glenn Greenwald, the former US Deputy National Security Advisor, KT McFarland, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and the former US Air Force combat pilot, Ryan Bodenheimer, known to many as Max Afterburner. Well, welcome to all of you. Well, let me start with you, Glenn Greenwald. I've got to say, you know, there's this whole thing about, you know, you shouldn't take everything Trump says literally, shouldn't take it overly seriously. But what else are we supposed to do when the President of the United States literally posts a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again? I don't want that to happen, but it probably will, about Iran and the 90 million people that live there. What else are we supposed to do with that but take it seriously and literally?
If you don't take that extremely seriously and literally, then you're acting with unbelievable recklessness. And this is not the first statement that Trump has made that has suggested this. He was talking to reporters over the weekend and essentially saying that there'd be nothing off the table in terms of what he would do to Iran, what he would destroy. We're talking about civilizational annihilation. That's not my interpretation. That's literally what Trump himself said. And even if it turns out that doesn't happen, he finds a way to get out of it this time. He postpones the deadline again. The fact that we have an American president in the middle of a war threatening to annihilate permanently a thousands-year-old civilization over a country that did not attack the United States, has never attacked the American homeland, has not tried, is one of the most disturbing and morally reprehensible things I've ever heard an American president say. And the last point I'll just make is that we're so inured as Americans, and even in Great Britain and parts of Europe, to war. We fight wars so often, so frequently. It's kind of like a natural state of affairs that, oh, which country are we going to go to war with? There's a reason we say war is a last resort. It's not like a cliche. It's supposed to be the highest human moral mandate. And it's because things like this can spiral out of control very quickly in ways that people didn't predict and didn't plan. It does things to human beings, war does, that make them act in all sorts of extraordinarily destructive ways. And we are at a moment of grave danger simply by the fact that Trump issued this threat, let alone whether he follows through.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Rob O'Neill has also joined us, former US Navy SEAL, of course. He killed Osama bin Laden. For some reason, your name didn't appear earlier, Rob, but probably because we elevated you to a VIP level of panel member, given your service to your country. So my apologies. Let me go to you, Rob, because both you and Ryan obviously have served in combat. In fact, only last night I was watching a riveting Netflix documentary about the raid to kill Osama bin Laden, and of course you were the man who finally pulled the trigger that killed him. So you are the best person imaginable to ask about several things that have happened in the last few days. Let's start with a big positive, which was the incredible rescue mission to get this colonel who had obviously crash landed, and then there was a hunt to get him.
I mean the hunt for Red October that was disguised as the rescue mission?
What did you make of this operation?
Yeah, this was a rescue of a downed aviator and or air crew like we've never seen before. Just the amount of assets that we had. What was unique about this, though, is we're able to see exactly where they are pretty much all the time. There's other air assets, other intelligence assets in the air watching. When they're hit and they eject, obviously it must have been at high altitude. I don't know the exact details of the elevation, but they separated by a couple miles. And at that point, everything stops and we need to find them. So they ended up going in with the Tier 1 unit with SEAL Team 6, and they flew in some C-130s with a lot of people. The guerrilla package is what it is. And that, I mean, they can do pretty much stuff. They're at a forward operating base that they made there on an airfield. There's other stuff they could be doing there, too, because it was a few days on the ground. I'm not sure what it was, but I know with that many people, that many assets, you know, they're in there. The pilot did a great job with the encryption and the survival radio that he did have, because it's sending encryption stuff. I don't want to get too much into it. He evaded a lot of counterintelligence with the 3-letter agencies in there, and then the pilot get into a spot and not moving. When people are in a major stress like that, distressed as well, they have a tendency to run away from things. It's best to find high ground and let the good guys come to you, which he did. Good on him, because he's hurt, he's wounded, he's bleeding, making it to the high ground and then not falling for any of the tricks. Hats off to everybody. So much going on, a lot more than the time we have today. But for the men and women involved with all this, seeing what will, I've seen it firsthand, the assets that we will use to get a single American back says a lot about our country. It also delivers a message that when we want to go anywhere in the world, the United States can do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought that was an astonishing rescue mission. I read the full New York Times account of it, and honestly, it was breathtaking. And I give great credit to Donald Trump for sending in literally the whole kitchen sink to rescue this guy, and they got him out with no loss of life on the American side. Incredible. But it begs the question, Rob, and I'd be very interested in what you feel about this. Trump could have taken a victory lap over that, and everyone would have applauded. You know, Trump could take a victory lap over Artemis, and everyone can applaud this astounding achievement we're watching of human beings going further than they've ever gone before in space. These are two great American achievements in the last few days. But what most of the world is talking about are two posts on social media by Donald Trump. You know, one in which he says, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah." And the other one, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want it to happen, but it probably will." And, you know, I've known Donald Trump 20 years. He's always shot from his mouth. He's always shot from the hip. He says, you know, he's a trash-talking New York real estate guy. Okay, but now he's the leader of the free world. He's the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief of the American military. Would you have felt comfortable if you were still serving with the commander-in-chief posting like that?
I have to be honest, Piers. I went to Truth Social to see if they were actually posted. I didn't think it was presidential, and I know that it's very difficult to be around President Trump and tell him something you disagree with. You know, I know the man. I've had dinner at the White House with him. But someone should step up to something like this. The optics are very important, and you really can't say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization. You're already teetering on what rules the Geneva Convention has, and you start talking about if you're hitting a vital infrastructure for civilian survival, that's against the Geneva Convention. You can't do it. Now, if it's dual purpose, which a lot of these people do, you know, that's for a lot of the higher ups to decide. But I don't think it's proper to get on social media and say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization like that. It's one of the, look, you know, he's angry. He's mad at NATO. He's mad at our so-called allies for not helping, and he's yelling at his phone. You need to take a deep breath and realize you're the commander-in-chief of the military. You're the leader of the free world, the most, you know, powerful man in the free world. There's something just shouldn't be said, even if you want to. For me, it's one of those things, and trust me, as someone on social media who you know, the next day wakes up and says, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, there is a time to type something up or even handwrite a letter, put it in a drawer and forget about it. If it doesn't bother you in 24 hours, it shouldn't be put out to the world. I think as the top boss in the military, inappropriate.
Yeah, I completely agree. Stay with me, panel. We'll come to the other members for their response to this in a second. Just joining me now briefly is Ro Khanna, Democratic congressman in California. Ro Khanna, welcome back to Uncensored. I mean, to even hear, you know, Rob O'Neill, a highly decorated U.S. Navy SEAL, obviously the man who killed Osama bin Laden, even he is very uncomfortable with the language being used here. I think that is a view shared by many in the American military. Why is Donald Trump doing this? Who is he appealing to with this kind of language?
Well, Donald Trump needs to be removed from office. Even if this is a threat and he doesn't plan on following through, it shows the utter contempt and inhumanity that Trump views people in Iran or in the Middle East or in the developing world with. It's not the American way of valuing the dignity and life of every individual. I mean, he's calling them animals. That's the same thing Gallant said about the Palestinians. He has a fuel blockade on Cuba, starving people there because he doesn't care about their life. And now he's talking about civilization annihilation. I am tired of the Democrats just using procedural language. We need to say this is a moral crime. We need to call for his removal, and we need to stand up for American principles, which is the equality and dignity of every human life. Those are Christian values. They're constitutional values.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing people who are more expert than me in the legal aspect of some of what he's saying. And they're saying that even signaling an intent to commit what he's suggesting, a whole civilization being killed, in other words, presumably every Iranian, 90 million people, even an American president signaling an intent to do that could be a war crime. It could already breach international law. Is that your understanding?
I do believe that. And this is what, of course, got Netanyahu's government into trouble with the ICJ and the UN. They had all of these ministers making statements of intent of treating people like animals, of starving them. And now you have Donald Trump echoing the same language. Look, Americans view ourselves as deeply good. We want to be a force for good in the world. We're the nation that defeated Nazism. We're the nation that defeated communism. We're the nation that goes in and rescues people when they have enemies attacking them. We're not a nation that is out there to destroy civilizations. It goes against the very essence of America's self-conception as a nation dedicated to equality and liberty and enlightenment and ideals. And Trump is doing something so corrosive to who we are as an American nation. I hope other Republicans will start to call for his removal.
Well, you know, I was telling Rob O'Neill, I watched a documentary about the killing of Osama bin Laden and that incredible raid. You know, Al-Qaeda, his terrorist organization, this is the kind of language they would use about America, right? Death to all Americans, death to America. This is terrorist language. And I'm just astonished that Donald Trump would post this publicly and expect there to be no legal fallout from that whatsoever. I just want to move generally. There's a big split going on the Republican side of this. We're going to come to some clips later in the show from Tucker Carlson railing against Trump here. Marjorie Taylor Greene has attacked him, calling, like you have, the 25th Amendment to be implemented. So we cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. One of the biggest cheerleaders for Trump has been Mark Levin, who has also taken time out to call you a Jew-hating, America-hating demagogue, and says the media continuing to give you airtime as if you're some kind of legitimate politician is outrageous. I'm very happy to give you airtime. What is your response to Mark Levin?
Well, I had to Google who he was. I didn't know who he was. And then I looked up. I guess he's a blast from the past, someone who was cheerleading us into the Iraq War and this militarism. But he doesn't represent the new generation. And Piers, it's really important, I think, that people who watch your show around the world understand there is a new generation of Americans. We're tired of these wars. We want to build a cohesive multiracial democracy. We want an America where everyone has an economic shot, and we're going to come to power in 26 and 28. So for those who think that Trump is America, they're just wrong. It's a dying gasp at a nostalgia and a past that many of the new generation reject. And Levin represents the worst of that tradition, but he's kind of irrelevant. I mean, I almost shouldn't have responded. I gave him, probably now more people know him than ever knew him before. And I would pay attention to where the future of this country is.
How do you feel about the fact that you and Tucker Carlson are pretty well in total agreement about what is happening with the Republican president?
Well, I appreciate that Tucker has actually been speaking out against the war in Iran. I mean, he, as you know, interviewed Ted Cruz. Cruz didn't know there were 90 million people there. Tucker has said that these wars of choice in the Middle East are making America less safe. They're strengthening China. We should be focused on rebuilding our industry. We should be focused on our people, childcare, healthcare, and that this is not in America's interest. But he's gone further, as has Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is not who America is. If you believe in a nation that has been influenced by Christian teaching, how can you be for these kind of posts on Easter Sunday? If you believe in a nation that has been influenced by Locke and Rousseau and Enlightenment ideals, how can you believe that every human life doesn't have dignity? Of course, America First means we take care of our own people. It doesn't mean that you don't recognize the life and dignity of every human being. And so what Tucker is speaking about, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is speaking about, are basic understanding of American founding values. And Trump is making a mockery of everything that makes America exceptional. But fortunately, he's a chapter that is going to be soon in the past. I fundamentally believe we're going to become a cohesive multiracial democracy, and this will be seen as something that America overcame.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Appreciate it.
Well, let's go back to the panel. And before we go to the panel members who haven't spoken yet, I want to play this clip from Tucker Carlson, which has gone viral today.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? No, this is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. We can't support that. That is evil. That is an intentional desecration of beauty and truth, which is the definition of evil.
Okay, well, let's go to Katie McFarland, former U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor. What do you feel about this? I mean, as an American, do you feel comfortable about the President of the United States posting this kind of rhetoric?
You know something? You're all taking the bait. Donald Trump is in the final hours of a negotiation that could prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Iran having nuclear weapons would be like Adolf Hitler having nuclear weapons in World War II. You bet he's tough. You bet he's not playing by the Marcus of Queensberry's rules. He is in the middle of a negotiation, and he is threatening. He's threatening the IRGC. He's threatening the Iranian regime, or what's left of it, with you come to me, you make a deal with me, and here's the deal: no nuclear weapons.
But he's not, though, is he? He's not. He's threatening the entire Iranian population. That is what he meant by a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. He's not just threatening the regime or the IRGC. He is being very specific that this will involve the removal of the entire civilization in Iran. That is genocide. That is a war crime.
You know, I guess I would think that what President Trump is doing now, don't always believe what he says, because he says
when he's threatening genocide?
I think he's threatening genocide. I think he's threatening to remove the Iranian regime.
He doesn't say that.
Well, I think that that's what he's talking about. He's removing the Iranian regime.
Why doesn't he say that?
If you look at the press conference that he gave yesterday, what did he say? We are now negotiating with new Iranians. We are now negotiating with the new Iranians.
Who he's now threatening to kill, along with every other Iranian tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning, English time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I mean, he couldn't be less ambiguous if he tried. It couldn't be more crystal clear.
I understand you don't like the words. But let me just ask you, in 24 hours...
How could anybody like the words? I mean, all due respect, Katie McFarland, explain to me who would like these words and why you would like them. Do you like them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course I don't like them, but the point is not whether I like them or not, it's whether the Iranian regime believes them. Do they believe it's a legitimate and credible
But they don't.
threat?
They've already come out and said they're now stopping all negotiation with the Americans over these posts. They want nothing to do with them. They're not negotiating. And in fact, they're coming out now saying we're more than happy to give our lives for our country and our cause, which, of course, many people understand that is what the Iranian regime ideology is all about, right? So why would this kind of threat
I thought that was the whole thing.
And also, what happens if we get to 8 p.m. tonight Eastern and Trump doesn't follow through with his threat? Then he's the boy. Then he's the boy that cried wolf. Then he's the emperor with no clothes. So I don't see how this works on any level. Either he commits a genocide and will be damned for eternity and probably start World War III, or he doesn't do it. The Iranians ignore his threats, and Trump is made to look impotent as a leader. How does this work as a victory for him? I don't get it.
I think you just made your point. That Iran, you've talked about the leadership of Iran. You talked about the martyrdom they want. How do you feel if Iran has nuclear weapons? You know, there's a cost to doing nothing. There's a cost to being polite.
I don't want them to have it, but my understanding of
I think they should have them.
Is that we were told last summer, after the 12-day war, that all threat of a nuclear weapon being developed by Iran had been taken out. Now, within 10 months, we're told we now have to threaten World War III to stop them getting a nuclear weapon that we were told only 10 months ago we had stopped them getting. All the enriched uranium is buried deep below the ground. Most military experts I've heard talk about this say there's no way to get it without committing ground troops, which could lead to catastrophic losses on the American side. So again, I ask, how does any of this stop Iran anyway from developing nuclear weapons? If we're not going to get the enriched uranium without blowing up the entire population, explain to me how we stop them developing a nuke.
Well, what you just said is that you're willing to live with a nuclear Iran. I am not willing to live with a nuclear Iran.
I didn't
say that. For the very reason that you've just said. Well, you said we can't find the enriched uranium. How do you know we can't find the enriched uranium? You know, one of the problems that President Trump saw is that we thought we'd obliterated everything, and what did the Iranians do the very next day? They started rebuilding. I taught nuclear weapons at MIT in the 1980s. What do you need for a nuclear weapon? You need three things. You need highly enriched uranium, which we know they've got. We're not sure where it all is. We don't know if they've already destroyed it all. You need a plan to take that highly enriched uranium and turn it into a bomb. And then you need a missile to deliver that nuclear weapon. What was Iran? So they've got the missiles. We've just seen that they've demonstrated they have the reach to reach Europe from Iran. We know they've got highly enriched uranium, and we're pretty sure they've got the blueprint that's going to pull it all together. So they're close to a nuclear weapon. If the United States waits until after they have a nuclear weapon, can you imagine the blackmail that Iran would do, not just to the region, but to the world?
Okay, let me bring in Cenk Uygur. I mean, Cenk, I was pretty horrified when I saw the post today. I was pretty horrified when I saw the post on Easter Sunday, to be honest with you. I just thought it was so inappropriate. And, you know, I always have an allowance for Trump to do a bit of trash talking. I don't like it when he trash talks about people who've just died. I think that's inappropriate and wrong. I wish he wouldn't do it. This is a whole different level of trash talking. This is basically threatening public brazen genocide. That's what he's doing. There is no defense for this. But I just find it astonishing that there are any people prepared to defend it.
Yeah. So I think what Katie McFarland was just saying is absurd. And listen to what she said. She said, what if the Iranians get a nuke? First of all, preposterous. They don't have any ability to deliver that enriched uranium. She knows it. This is all about regime change. It's for Israel. We all know that. In fact, Israel has nukes, and they're a super dangerous country. Ben Gvir on TV just yesterday was joking around about nuking Iran and how he would like to do that. So, and she says, oh my God, can you imagine if the Iranians had nukes, they might want to wipe out our entire civilization. That's what Trump just said. Trump is, like you said earlier, Piers, he's talking like a terrorist. So this is the Israelification of our policy. They're pro-genocide. We're not pro-genocide. We're the good guys. And so this is unbearable. This is, look, I reach out to all voters, including Trump voters, all the time. I'm the last person to rub it in and go, ha, you made a mistake. I love it when people come to the right side. I'm the guy who said Marjorie Taylor Greene, Massey, and Tucker Carlson would do the right thing on war and Iran, and I'm relieved to see that they did, and I really appreciate it. But guys, this is why I was forced to vote for 3 corporate Democrats I can't stand, because the alternative was this madman, Donald Trump. He's always been a madman. He's always been a spoiled child. His father gave him $400 million and he blew it. And then his second daddy, Jeff Zucker, gave him $400 million through The Apprentice and he blew that. So when he gets into this quagmire, he just said yesterday, oh, he didn't think that they were going to close the Strait of Hormuz. We all knew they were going to close the Strait of Hormuz. How could you not know that? So he gets frustrated. He got talked into it by Israel. So now he can't find a way out. And so he starts screaming into the abyss like a spoiled child. Give me what I want or I'll destroy you. And I'll take my ball and go home, except I'll nuke you first. This is disgusting talk. And look, I think there is a third alternative to what you just said. There's a possibility, Piers, that he's threatening to blow up the power plants and the bridges and to nuke them or do whatever he's madman talk that he's doing. And then he's instead going to put in ground troops and go, ha ha, I'm so clever. You were expecting the bombing, but I put in ground troops instead. But we didn't want ground troops. None of these choices are good. We shouldn't be in this war in the first place. There's nothing but disastrous choices for us. And of course, meanwhile, Israel is laughing and laughing because, number one, they want a mess and chaos in Iran so that it debilitates them and they can't fund Hamas and Hezbollah. And number two, they have the Leviathan pipeline now. It is a giant gas field. So if we bomb Iran's gas fields and they bomb the Gulf gas fields, the number one winner economically is Israel. So they can't wait for this kind of death and destruction. He should have, he fired Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi. He should have fired all the Israel First advisors that are surrounding him, which is literally everyone at the White House.
Okay.
Clean house, get Americans in there, not people serving a different country, and especially a genocidal country like Israel. That's why you get the kind of talk that you're seeing today.
Okay, but the only bigger...
And by the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whether he does it or not, the mere fact of saying that America would destroy an entire civilization and commit genocide or a Holocaust like this puts a moral stain on us. We cannot bear that moral stain. We're supposed to be the good guys. This kind of language, even if he doesn't follow through on it, is a terrible mark on America, and we shouldn't tolerate it.
Okay. I'm a bit concerned about you, Cenk. You're losing your voice. I'm not sure the American people could suffer that blow at this particular time.
Don't worry, if Katie says one more thing, I'll show you what voice I have
I'm just worried if you do one of your regular blow-ups, this could be it. We could have the silencing of Cenk Uygur in real time. Let me come to Ryan, Max Afterburner. Max, what do you feel about this? I mean, you've served in combat. You're a U.S. Air Force combat pilot. I presume you would share Rob's view and my view that the rescue mission was unbelievable and incredible heroism, both by the pilot and by the teams that went to get him. It was remarkable. But rather than talking about that, we're all talking about this threat from Donald Trump. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, good to see you, Pierce. Good to see everybody else as well. So I think Rob would agree with this. There's never a good time in the middle of the night to come face to face with a Navy SEAL unless you're the weapons systems officer getting rescued. So overall, just a great operation. I'm so proud of all the rescue forces and the Wizzo himself. And again, what a great day for America, getting that aviator back safe. But the thing I want to talk about that I want to highlight and add some context to everybody talking about a whole civilization will die tonight. If we just go to the bottom of that truth post, it says 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. So as you can see right there, he's not saying he's going to have a genocide on the people of Iran. What he's saying is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that took over 47 years ago is who he's focused on eradicating. And remember, he's dealing with terrorists. This is a terrorist regime. So for 10 years, I studied the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in back vaults for the U.S. Air Force. And we always knew this is what they were going to throw at the end game of this war, which are terrorist proxy tactics. So that's going to be the first brief that President Trump got from General Raisin Kane is, hey, look, at the end of this, when their military is decimated, their Navy's decimated, they're going to rely on proxy tactics, to cause pain on the global economy in the Straits of Hormuz. And so we're seeing that play out. Now, could the president have used some different choice words instead of a whole civilization? Maybe that can be taken out of context. So yeah, he could have changed that.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
Max,
but
look, I
if you
appreciate you translating the president's words into
Yeah,
a
well, it
far,
doesn't even need to be
into a far
translated,
more
Pierce.
benign wording.
Well,
but the reality is, had he started by saying, I want to get rid of this IRGC regime,
Yeah.
okay, that's one thing, all right? But he didn't. He used the words, a whole civilization will die tonight.
Right, that could be taken out of context.
You might have wanted him to say
Taken out of
what you've
context.
just articulated.
Okay,
And
Chad.
if he'd said that, there wouldn't be the outrage there is. But he didn't say that.
Well, he did at the end. He brings it home
No,
and
he says
says
at
he
the end
cleans it up.
something that is completely contradictory to what he said at the start, which is classic Trump in this war. You know, one
Well, I
of the
think you
things,
gotta interpret both
you know,
pieces,
sure. I
Peter.
mean,
You
I would
gotta
say
look
to
at
you,
both sections.
Max. I would say to you, but should I call you Max or Ryan? By the way,
Ryan's fine.
Ryan. You know, look, when you were serving, right? It's to have a commander-in-chief sending such mixed messages all the time, in real time, publicly, right? I mean, this is not good for anyone serving in the United States.
And I can understand why it's
military.
confusing. But the art of war, so that's one of the tactics that has been used in military operations for thousands of years. The art of war is you keep them guessing. You don't want to tell the Iranian regime when this war is going to end. You don't want to tell them what's coming next. You don't want to tell them what you will or won't strike. So deception is a huge part of warfare, and that's something that's hard for the civilian population to understand. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with a terrorist regime. So you have to sometimes fight fire with fire.
Okay, before I come back to Glenn, I wanted to just ask Rob O'Neill something that Tucker Carlson also said. He publicly urged United States military and Pentagon officials to actively defy Trump and refuse orders if he attempts to launch nuclear weapons against Iran.
Yeah.
If you work in the White House or in the U.S. military, now it's time to say no, absolutely not, and say it directly to the president, no. In case you're thinking about using some weapon of mass destruction against the population of Iran, in whose name we liberated Iran, we killed their religious leader for their benefit. Do you remember that? This was last month. Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say no.
What do you feel about that, Rob? I mean, the idea that people serving at high level in the military or at the Pentagon would defy an instruction from the commander-in-chief to launch a nuclear weapon.
Well, I mean, that's not going to happen. Those are, they're going to have to be, they'll need to be lawful orders. And the whole thing with deciding what order is lawful is completely against the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Never happened. Plus, if you notice, he didn't say nuclear weapons. We do have weapons more powerful than nuclear weapons. People are going to get wrapped up in that 80s style of Russia versus the United States. But we have stuff there. And just other things you got to consider. Yes, the Truth Social is social media, and he's using it sort of as a bargaining chip. You got to figure, look at the amount of time we had Tier 1 operators on the ground. Who's to say we didn't get the uranium already? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we do. It's not just shoot from the hip. We have very talented people doing a lot of talented stuff. Yes, he's doing stuff with the negotiations. I mean, I don't think when you're banking on the entire population to rise up to get rid of the Islamists is the way to say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization. But you know, different words. Yes, he always goes a little bit further, saying, okay, we're going to take Greenland, we're going to take Greenland. It's okay, maybe we'll have a few bases in Greenland. He's going to take the long shot, but then back off. I just saying you're going to wipe out a civilization. Bad choice of words, I think.
But I was really struck. I was really struck. For example, you know, the biggest mission in modern American history post Second World War is the mission that you were on to kill Osama bin Laden. In terms of the importance, I think, to Americans and to the country and to the people, to finally see him get justice for what he did on 9/11. You know, it was an incredible mission. But what was the theme of that mission? Utter secrecy. Absolutely everybody involved. Tiny number of people at the White House knew about it. Very small number of people in the military knew about it, even though all you top-level guys were all being brought together. Highly unusual for that to happen. But there was a wall of secrecy because people understood that careless words cost lives, the famous World War II thing. Here with Trump, we have the complete opposite. He just spews out all this stuff like a machine gun, a verbal machine gun, all day long. And I don't understand how any of that helps. I don't think it's duping the enemy. I don't think the Iranians take any of it that seriously. I just don't understand why he feels the need to do this.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's giving away any secrets. Everything is extremely close held. It's hard for me to find out any information about who's involved in anything. And that's talking with sources in Washington, D.C., in Congress. They're keeping it very compartmentalized. And the bin Laden raid's one thing. We can't tell anybody, because if we even tell the host nation, because Pakistan was involved with that, they're going to run him to safety. Stuff like this, we knew they were shot down. Now, we didn't know there were 2 pilots there until someone in the Pentagon leaked it, someone close by. So they're not giving away stuff they're doing right now. I mean, even with Carg Island, who's to say if we're going to take it completely? Which I mean, who knows now? We could. The United States could. We could take all the oil and keep it. So I don't think he's giving away secrets.
What?
I mean, appropriately having fun with it. Inappropriately having fun with it, I guess, is what I'd say.
Very nice.
Glenn Greenwald, I mean, it seems to me that if you look at what Putin has done in Ukraine, if you look at what China is believed to want to do in Taiwan, for example, the moral authority that Cenk Uygur talked about is incredibly important here. If America cedes any moral high ground whatsoever by openly threatening genocide as Trump has done today, whether he meant it or not, the fact he's gone on record as saying it, how can America, when another nation commits an act which they view as morally reprehensible, how can they play the moral card with it going forward?
Well, we can, and it wasn't just before this, just today. It was long before this. There have been American hawks who have gone to Europe and warned people in Europe that the reason China is rising so greatly and in displacing Americans in all the regions where we used to be dominant, like Africa and Latin America, is because the world perceives that the Americans and the United States government is a bully and just uses military force and war and weapons anytime it feels like, whereas China was able to rise to a world power even though they haven't fought a war in 48 years. The last war they fought was 1979. That was a 1-month border dispute with Vietnam, and yet we're fighting wars constantly, and now with the American president threatening civilizational annihilation. I don't think we need to sit here and like dissect the Truth Social post as though it's like some hieroglyphic from ancient civilization and we have to decipher what it really means. Trump has repeatedly made statements like this. As you said, on Easter, he vowed to destroy every power plant in Iran and every bridge in Iran. That wouldn't just affect the regime, that would destroy the lives of millions of people who are in Iran, people that were supposedly there to represent. And I just want to add one last point, which is it's so bizarre to have to sit here and listen to people like Katie McFarland say, oh, we have to go to war to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, when these were the same exact people who said the same exact thing about Saddam Hussein, that we had to go to war because Saddam Hussein was going to get a nuclear weapon and pass it to Al-Qaeda and they were going to detonate it, all of which turned out to be lies. And they just come back like none of it ever happened. And even this rescue mission, like I'm glad the pilot was rescued, but I do think we have to be a little bit aware as well that there's a lot of propaganda disseminated in war. We were told at the very start of the war, you may remember this, that there was this soldier named Jessica Lynch who heroically fought off Iraqi fighters and gunned a bunch of them down and was finally taken and tortured in a hospital, and U.S. forces rescued her in a daring raid, none of which turned out to be true. The media told this story over and over. So a lot of this is propaganda. A lot of this are things that we've seen before, and we do have a major problem even before Trump started with these insane threats, not just in this Truth Social post. And we didn't just threaten it, we have blown up their bridges, which obviously affects the population. We've blown up their refineries, that poisons their air and water. These are things we're actually doing. And the U.S. was already in a hole morally and geostrategically, which is why China is rising, because countries would rather deal with them. And this makes it infinitely worse, even if Trump doesn't follow through on these monstrous threats.
How many bases does China have?
You know, I remember the Donald Trump campaigning to be elected in 2024, who couldn't have been clearer. He was going to stop taking America into these Middle Eastern wars. He thought they were ruinous for the economy. They were ruinous on life. He just didn't understand them. He kept telling us how he thought Iraq had been a terrible mistake, and he wanted to stop all this. This was America First, meant looking after American interests in America. And my God, there are lots of stuff that he could be doing to improve the lives of Americans right now. And he made a good start. He shut the southern border. I thought that was an excellent thing to do after what happened under Biden for 4 years. But ever since now, it seems like he's been on a mission to contradict his own campaigning. And what could be a bigger contradiction of I'm not going to drag America into these pointless Middle Eastern wars than dragging America into the biggest and most potentially dangerous and ruinous Middle Eastern war imaginable. And now he's talking about wiping out whole civilizations. How does that sit with Donald Trump, the campaigner? Vote for me and I won't do this.
You know, I guess I would take great issue with what Glenn has just said about people like Donald Trump not supporting the Iraq War. I ran for the U.S. Senate in 2006 because I didn't think the Bush administration was doing the right thing with the Iraq War. President Trump is not against war. He's not afraid of war. He's not afraid of using military force. What he doesn't want is a forever war that goes on for decades that the United States can't win, that costs us in blood and treasure. And if you listen to what he said in the last 48 hours even, he said, we're not going to make Bush's mistakes. We are not going to go into Iran. We're not going to fire all the military. We're not going to get rid of everybody in the government. We don't want to occupy. We don't want to run the place. We want a Venezuela model where we can go and maybe decapitate the senior leadership and then get whoever is left in the leadership to do a deal with us. We'll develop their oil. They'll get rid of their nuclear weapons. They'll open the Strait of Hormuz.
What are you
talking about? I think you're all basically taking the bait. Donald Trump negotiates from strength. So what he does is he goes in, and the first position out of his mouth is the extreme position. And then he negotiates backwards, and then in the end of the day, he gets the result he wants.
Well, let me put a different argument to you, which is that I think, and I've known him a long time, Donald Trump. I like him personally. We've been friends for 2 decades. But knowing him as well as I do, and you know him well too, I think he has massively miscalculated with this war in Iran, which no one wants to call a war, because if it was called a war, you'd have to go through Congress. And no American president likes to do that with war. But they should, actually, for another point. But, you know, looking at Donald Trump's behavioral pattern in the last few weeks, I think that he thought this would be like Venezuela. They would go in. The Israelis said to them, we've got the Ayatollah, we've got all these top people in the same room, we can take them all out. And he thought, decapitate them, the people would rise up, that's what Netanyahu told him, and it would all be over very quickly. And the complete opposite has happened. And where the real miscalculation came was in Iran's ability to withstand enormous military superiority against them, but to then exercise a sort of parallel universe war, an asymmetric war of an economic kind with the Straits of Hormuz, effectively shutting that down, causing enormous damage to the global economy, which will be felt now for many months, whatever happens, and then attacking the Gulf states in a way that has, you know, paralyzed their business model. So attacking oil refineries in the Gulf states, its neighbors, attacking tourist centers and so on. This has been a disaster for them. And so you add it all up, and I think, where's the win here? The regime is still in place. They've got, you know, they've got way more IRGC people that can come through the ranks and fill the gaps. So that hasn't changed. The people are not uprising for a number of reasons. Probably fear of bombs.
The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The Strait of Hormuz is closed.
And the Strait of Hormuz, well, exactly. As Glenda said, the Straits of Hormuz remain pretty well closed to anyone that the Iranians don't want to leave them open to. I just am struggling to conclude anything other than Trump has miscalculated, probably because he's been misled by the Israelis that this would be indeed like it was in the 12-day war last summer and like it was in Venezuela, a quick, sharp shock and get out. And now I don't think he knows how to get out. And the Iranians know they can hold the Straits of Hormuz as this bargaining tool, which is almost impossible to take away from them.
So what you're saying is that because Iran is using this bargaining tool, which is using this blackmail tool, the economic tool, that they would somehow, that we're supposed to let them do that and then potentially have nuclear weapons and let them blackmail the world again?
No, I don't believe there was. I don't believe there was an impending threat of nuclear weapons in Iran. I think that was a totally misleading reading of their situation and flies completely in the face of what we were told happened after the 12-day war. So I think that this was a genuine desire by the Israelis to have a regime change in Iran, and they persuaded Donald Trump to join in. That's why Antony Blinken said they tried to get Biden to do it. They tried to get Obama to do it. They both said no, and Israel did not attack. This time they got third time lucky. As Marco Rubio said, the Americans got involved because they were told another country was going in and they knew that there would be retaliation, so we better get in first. It came out of the Secretary of State's mouth. So the beauty of this whole war, if there can be such a thing, is the clarity coming out of people's mouths. They will be judged accordingly. Let me bring Cenk back in here. You know, I keep going back to that Rubio moment because to me, that is at the core of this war. I think Trump got bamboozled into doing this by Netanyahu, who made 8 visits to America in the build-up to this. And we saw J.D. Vance say similar things only last week.
Yeah. So there's three different factors with Trump and the Israelis. Number one, the Adelson family alone has given Trump over $300 million in campaign contributions. So anyone saying that Trump is not affected by $300 million lives on a different planet. So they literally bribed him. That's legally possible in America. Miriam Adelson is an Israeli. She's the one who flew out Jonathan Pollard in a private jet to congratulate him back to Israel, gave him a hero's welcome. So these people are not for our country. They're the opposite, right? On top of that, let's be honest, there might be blackmail. But let's go past that. And they did. Netanyahu came and talked to him 8 different times and whispered sweet nothings into his ear. And he said, oh, you're going to be a hero. You're going to conquer the whole world, Donald. And you know what? We're going to do it anyway. You'll be a spectator to history. That's a direct quote that they used. So you better not be weak. And the thing is, guys, you know, Piers, the one thing I can't agree with you on is Trump is a baboon. I mean, he's so stupid. It's like talking to a child. I mean, if you told me, oh, you're going to be a spectator to history, you better attack Iran before we do, I'd be like, shut up and get out of the American White House. And but Trump's like, oh, okay, Daddy, am I going to be big and powerful? So I can't stand the guy, and I can't stand talking as if he's a rational person.
Look, honestly, when you call Trump a baboon, you're kind of falling into his rhetorical trap of you know, getting in the gutter with him. And I don't think
What is this, Piers? Well, I mean, can you agree that he's a stupid man-child? Can you at least agree on that?
No, I don't think he's a stupid man.
I mean, what is this screaming into the abyss? I'm going to kill them all. I'm the new Hitler. He's basically saying he's the new Hitler. I mean, what is that? I mean, he's either a monster or a monster and a man-child.
I find these posts reprehensible. But Donald Trump is not a stupid man. I can assure you of that. He's won the White House twice.
Oh, are you crazy?
Well,
he's the
managed to win the
guy
White
we've
House.
ever had in office.
Well, he's won the White House twice. He's not stupid.
Yeah, that's why I can't stand the corporate Democrats.
He's not stupid.
I mean, to be fair, you're right. I mean, the only people dumber than Donald Trump are the Democratic leadership that keep losing to him.
Okay.
Oh, let's run as elitists. Let's run as pro-corporate and let's embrace Dick Cheney.
All right.
Jesus.
But I don't think he's stupid. But I do think his foreign policy generally actually has been one of his stronger points. Until this makes no sense to me. No, it hasn't made sense from day one.
He has no strong points. His foreign policy has been a disaster. So let's get back to the main issue here. So he said he was against wars. You're absolutely right about that, especially against Middle Eastern wars. And he said he was worried that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were going to take us into World War III. Okay, and now what do we have? Ben Gvir threatening nukes. And by the way, if you haven't heard, China and Pakistan have said that if Israel nukes Iran, they will nuke Israel. So here we are on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust because this baboon is in office and he's like, oh, Bibi, how can I make you happy? Can you please give me more money? Am I going to be a hero, Bibi? I can't stand this guy. And doing the exact opposite of what he promised. The exact opposite. And one more thing that a point that Glenn made that is really important. So Russia goes and destroys their army and their treasure in Ukraine. Now we're going to destroy our treasure. We spent $300 million on the rescue alone. It was a brilliant operation, but $300 million. We're spending $1 to $2 billion a day. So both Russia and the U.S. are destroying themselves in these totally needless wars, and China is laughing their ass off. How did they get this lucky that we're wasting our treasure and our military on wars for other countries? It's insanity. Let's go compete with China and India economically. Stop this military madness. Get someone who's an American and who's a decent person back in charge of America.
Okay, let me bring Ryan back in here. I found a quote from retired Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Van Lindingham, who said on PBS, threatening to bomb every bridge and power plant in Iran in itself is a war crime, not just reckless talk, a crime. Why? Because terrorizing a civilian population through rhetoric violates the law of war, and the law of war is US law. So that seems pretty clear there, that actually this kind of rhetoric can have very serious real-world consequences for Donald Trump.
Yeah, so a lot of this is a bargaining position. It's a lot of leverage that Trump is getting. And when it comes to actually targeting these structures, like a fleet combat in Afghanistan, and there's a rule of engagement that you go through for every release, and you do everything you can to mitigate damage to civilians in the area. But if you look at some of these plants that have been struck so far, like PARS Energy Plant, Sharif University, PARS is basically powering the ballistic missile program for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So that makes it a legitimate target. Sharif University is a nerve center, a data center, where the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has built and designed their missiles and their drones. And what I hear on the panel, too, is a lot of people being triggered by Trump. And I think that's what happens when someone with a backbone comes in and says, no, you know what, we're going to stand up to evil. And if you don't stand up to that evil, you're kind of like that person.
What if, as Tucker Carlson said, what if in standing up to evil, you start to sound evil yourself? I mean, that is...
Well, maybe you do have to fight fire with fire. I mean, you're going up against a terrorist
problem, isn't it?
regime.
I've got a real problem with that. You know, I've always, I've said this many times, I don't want to bore people, but I come from a lot of military in my family, right? Okay. And they're horrified about this because there's supposed to be a moral code. I'm sure you abided by it when you served.
Absolutely.
I know for a fact Rob did, right? He's been on some of the biggest missions in American modern military history, and there's a strict moral code that abides along the way with these guys, right? It's what makes the American military one of the finest in history. It's what makes the British military fine. The moment you lose that, the moment you abandon all pretense at morality or being a superior moral force, and you just decide to fight evil with evil, and you fight people threatening to annihilate you by annihilating the entire country, you lose me.
I think he's threatening to annihilate the IRGC and the regime. I don't think he's threatening to annihilate the entire country. I think that's pretty clear from what we can see.
You're being very forgiving, but maybe you should be his digital producer, because that's not what he posted.
Well, I'll be the person that reads the second part of his Truth Social post. I mean, it's pretty clear right there that he's just talking about the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. 47 years ago, the Islamic Revolution happened and brought in a terrorist regime run by radical Islamic clerics who want a nuclear weapon. So my question to the panel is, yeah, it'd be nice if we don't have to do anything. I would prefer that we're not in war. It would be great, Sink, if we could not have to deal with this situation and we could just all go on with our lives, run our businesses, make money. That'd be great. But to me, you're coming across as someone who's putting a blindfold on and walking towards a cliff, and you're perfectly fine with that threat. And someone's like, hey, there's a cliff up there.
Yeah,
and you're like,
that's what you sound like to me.
It's nice out today, so we're just going to keep walking towards the cliff. And that cliff is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
What happens,
so not only nuclear weapons, just take nuclear weapons off the table.
Okay, but Ryan, what happens, Ryan? Look, there are many people that share your view that the Iranians had to be dealt with, and that Trump's a trash talker, and he's just negotiating and so on. But let me ask you, Ryan, a specific question. What happens if the Iranians call it? What happens if the Iranians call his bluff? If 8 p.m. comes and goes tonight, Trump does not wipe out the whole country and is then looking, as I said earlier, like the emperor with no clothes. The guy that threatened to do all this stuff, and then they called his bluff and he didn't do it. That's the problem. You can exaggerate when you're selling a building in New York City. You can pile them high, right? You can exaggerate a lot of things when you're president, actually. You can trash talk your rivals, or you can trash talk Hollywood people when they die, whatever. That has no real world level of consequence, other than people might find it disagreeable. But when you do this and you don't act on it, he is relying on the Iranian regime caving. I don't think that ideologically they will do that, because they are basically nihilists. They've already said publicly in the last few hours, we don't care if we die. We'll die if we have to. And I'm sure they mean it.
Of course.
So what happens if his bluff gets called?
Well, I think it's a fair point. I mean, some of the choice words, the words probably could have been stated differently. I think you bring up a fair point there. However, in warfare, there's also deception. So if you're deceiving the enemy, you're doing warfare correct. And so if 8 p.m. comes tonight and the bombs don't drop on specific facilities, then it'll drop somewhere else. And Trump will pivot somewhere else and use our military in a moral way to start to systematically destroy the IRGC's ability to fund themselves. And we saw Karj Island get hit this morning, late last night. And so they took out military infrastructure there while not targeting the oil infrastructure. So there's a strategic 4D chess plan. So again, pivoting and adapting can happen even when this claim has been made by the president.
Well, the thing is, we're going to find out. I mean, as somebody said to me last night, I first got to know Trump when I appeared on his Celebrity Apprentice show. And as someone said to me last night...
Can I just add one thing, Pierce?
Yeah.
So I think there's a narrative out there that everybody's blaming Israel for everything, and it comes across as a mainstream corporate news talking point to me. But if you look back at the 80s, President Trump has an interview where he says Iran needs to be bombed. They need to be taken out. They're a dangerous regime.
There's no question. There's no question he has said that before, but there's also no question because Marco Rubio spelled it out for us on camera that the incentive for America to get involved this time was because the Israelis said we're going to attack.
I mean, obviously, Israel has an incentive for us to do this. That's obvious. That's clear. They benefit from this. However, America benefits a lot as well.
But the problem, my problem.
Sponsor of terror.
No, we don't.
The point I was going to make. The point I was going to make was, having appeared on The Apprentice, someone said to me last night, "This is like watching The Apprentice." This is my problem with the way Trump is conducting this war. War is not a game. It's not a reality show.
Yeah, sure, dude.
And when people are waking up for the new installment from Donald Trump about the Iran war, and almost when you add all the memes that the White House has been putting out and the Hollywood-style video stuff and so on, none of it sits easily with me because there is nothing worse in the world than war. But as you know,
Pierce, I agree.
And as Rob knows better than anybody, wars are about as real as life and death get, right? And the idea that the whole thing is treated like a kind of reality show sits really
Even
badly
at prime
with
time,
me.
8 o'clock p.m. Eastern
Well,
prime
that's
time
my
is
point.
when he set the time for it.
That's my point. It's like it's all what you would do if you're promoting a reality TV show. Because that's Trump's background, it sits even more uneasily, and I wish he wouldn't do it like this. I think there are different ways to do it which are more respectful.
There are. I think you're right. There could be a more respectful way to do this. But at the end of the day, Pierce, you know better than anybody that this is a propaganda war. I mean, look at the IRGC's propaganda. This battle also plays out in the media.
Yeah,
and so I
it's a
think President Trump is
war
fighting it in the
that we're
media as well.
Okay, well, we will find
right.
out. Thank you very much to my panel. I really appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Piers
Losing
Morgan
the
Uncensored
war.
is proudly.
We're losing the propaganda war, folks. We're also losing the war in game, too. It sucks. Right back. think I need the rook in? Jesus Christ. My noise filter's not working. What am I supposed to do? Keep forgetting. Yeah, turn the gate up. Fuck that. Fuck the gate.
Activating combat frame.
Let's go. That's right. You never know, folks. Gotta get rid of that. It's gotta go. It's gotta go. What are you gonna do, brother? Oopsie. Didn't know. Is this working? Not really. Fuck. Okay, let's turn this down then. Magic. Huh? Huh? Oh. Bullshit. Nope. It's not gonna work, is it?
Hide self.
Oopsie. I think it's working now. That's gonna have it on low. The lighting has to be turned down. That's right. Purple. Not good. Loser. We gotta go to maintenance. Didn't say I had to scratch with any particular hero, so. That's all I got, bro. Watch this.
UESC signal.
Confused? Not bad. Can be confusing, huh? I know. Sorry, robot. You're still twitching. This guy's coming in. He's like, hey, buddy. Can't see me, bitch. Haha. No ammo. Oh god.
Force recall in 5 minutes.
He got my shield. But I'm not dead. Gotta not forget. Can't get your stuff done when you're working though. That's why it sucks. That was not me. That was my neighbor. I have no weapons. Do I? Nope. I need ammo. I used all of it. Yeah, I'm not. I'll just kill this guy.
This guy is engaged.
I need the ammo. Just chilling, bro. How you doing? No worries. I'm just gonna skedaddle. Gotta rock like a robot. I think I want to be here. Oh, cue it.
3 minutes. Location exfil immediate.
Just busted my own shield. Hello? 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 Got some ammo for me? Now there's like a team in here, dude. Watch. Give me ammo. What the fuck? Sure. Let's go there.
Connection collapse imminent. Exfil immediately.
Well, I have to exfil. I'm fucked. One place.
Exit.
Okay. Oh no, I've been toxified. I'm busted, bro. I'm tired of this map. I can't play it anymore. Huh? What the fuck? I'm the wrong way. Son of a bitch. I hate that. No! Ah! Holy shit! I got out. Oh my god. Okay. Last guy there. Did I get anything? I got nothing. Wow. Amazing. God damn it, I need to be level 25. Can I buy a hollow tag? Where's my hollow tag? Hello? Well, shit. I can't buy one because I'm not season 25. Level 25. I have to be level 25. Otherwise. Okay, fine. Be that way. That's right, we don't have to do it. You never know, folks. You never know. I'll just give you a side profile here. There we go. Looks like I'm gaming. Alright, bye. Be right back. I gotta go, chat. Sorry. See you tomorrow.